Question 121. Which one of the following statements is incorrect? And all these statements are about competitive inhibition. So before reading with this question, a quick recap of what competitive inhibition is. Now, an enzyme will have areas in itself. They are called active sites. And these active sites of enzymes are specific for substrate, just like a lock and key. Now, what is a competitive inhibition? Competitive inhibition is when an inhibitor actually looks like a substrate. Now, this inhibitor will compete with the substrate. So if the inhibitor's concentration is more, this inhibitor will go and bind to the active site of enzyme and not allowing the substrate to get bound to it. Now, this will slow down the rate of chemical reaction. However, the enzyme has a greater affinity for the substrate because it is more specific to the substrate than actually it is to the inhibitor. Hence, what happens is that if you keep on increasing the concentration of substrate, the inhibitors will not be attached more to the active sites and this entire process will be reversed. If I actually draw a graph, this is my enzyme substrate combination reaction. This is the rate of reaction and this is the substrate complex. Now, the half value is called the Km value. The value of the reaction, the concentration of the substrate at which the rate of reaction is halved is called Km value. Now, what happens here is that in a competitive inhibitor, we say that the affinity between enzyme and substrate is decreasing because of the inhibitor. That means the curve will actually shift on the right. इसका ये मतलब है कि अगर inhibitor होगा तो ये reaction slow होगा, slow होगा, लेकिन बहुत high substrate concentration में when it reaches, it will actually touch the Vmax but a little late. So Vmax is here, half Vmax, but now the graph becomes like this. So now we can say that if I have a competitive inhibitor, my Km value will always increase. With this background, let's try to figure out this question. In competitive inhibition, the inhibitor molecule is not chemically changed by the enzyme. That's absolutely correct because the enzyme does not change the inhibitor to form a product. It only changes the substrate to form the product. So what does it do to what does the inhibitor do to the enzyme? It just blocks the active site. Enzyme does not produce any product from the inhibitor. So this statement is actually a correct statement. The next one is competitive inhibitor does not affect the rate of breakdown of enzyme substrate complex. Now, if you realize this statement, it's a tricky statement. The competitive inhibitor does not affect the rate of reaction. That's correct. Does it affect the rate of, competitive inhibitor affects the rate of reaction. That is correct. But does it affect the rate of breakdown of enzyme substrate complex? Whatever enzyme and substrate combined together, they will form the product. Inhibitor does not interfere with this reaction. Inhibitor only gets attached to active sites. Means if the inhibitor is attached to the active site, the substrate will not be attached to enzyme. But if some substrate has already attached to enzyme to form enzyme substrate complex, this inhibitor cannot affect them. So if you look at this statement, does it affect the rate of breakdown of enzyme substrate complex? Competitive inhibitor does not. So this statement is also a correct statement. The third one is presence of competitive inhibitor decreases the Km value. In fact, this word is absolutely wrong because competitive inhibitor increases the Km value of the enzyme for substrate. So incorrect answer is this. But let's still see if fourth one could also be incorrect. A competitive inhibitor reacts reversibly. Yes, it has a reversible reaction because higher amount of substrate will reverse this reaction with the enzyme to form an enzyme inhibitor complex. This statement is also absolutely right. So the incorrect statement out of these four is the third one, and that's the right answer.
Okay children, let us now talk about question number 122. The question says, which of the following regions of the brain is incorrectly paired with its function? The fourth option says medulla oblongata, which maintains homeostatic control. Yes, medulla along with hypothalamus help in maintaining the homeostatic control of the body. So this option is definitely correct. The third option says cerebrum controls calculation and contemplation. Children, always remember all the intelligence related functions, the memory related functions are taken care of by cerebrum, the four lobes of cerebrum, and hence this is also correct. The second option is corpus callosum communicates between the left and right cerebral cortices. The two cerebral hemispheres are interconnected by a transverse band of fibers which is called as corpus callosum, and it is this corpus callosum that help in integrating the activity of right and left cerebral hemispheres with respect to the two sides of the body. So corpus callosum communication between right and left cerebral cortices is also correct, and the first option, that is cerebellum, controls language and comprehension, is wrong because it is cerebellum which controls the muscle control on the two sides of the body, while cerebrum controls language and comprehension. So the correct answer to this question is 1.
We are moving towards the question number 123. Here, which one of the following statement is not true? Okay, so we have to select here incorrect statement. I am reading the first one, that is pollen grains of some plants cause severe allergies and bronchial affections in some people. It is true. It is on the page number 24 of your 12th standard textbook. The flowers pollinated by flies and bats secrete foul odor to attract them. This is also correct. Okay, if you see the characterophily, okay, the bats, the characterophily flower are there, they will show the rotten fruity odor. Okay, so that is second is also correct. For fourth, pollen grains are rich in nutrients and they are used in the form of tablets and syrup. This is also given on your page number 24. But remember, honey is made by digesting nectar collected from flowers, not by the pollen. Okay, so the answer is 3. 3 is not correct.
Question number 124. The active form of Entamoeba histolytica feeds upon. Now, to understand that, we need to remember the active form of Entamoeba histolytica is nothing but trophozoite. Yeah? And this trophozoite form will infect what? Now, this is an endoparasite, it stays inside our body, so it cannot feed on food of the intestine because food of the intestine is not completely digested. In fact, it actually loves the large intestine. Entamoeba histolytica, which causes amoebiasis, loves the large intestine. So automatically our answer comes to mucosa and submucosa of the colon. But it has been found in many instances that Entamoeba histolytica trophozoites can actually eat up RBCs. It is not a very common occurrence, it is rare, but it has been found that Entamoeba histolytica trophozoites feed on RBCs as well. So the correct answer to this question is erythrocytes, mucosa and submucosa of the colon is what trophozoite of Entamoeba histolytica will feed on.
Okay children, let us now talk about question number 125. The question says, which of the following viruses is not transferred through semen of an infected male? Now out of all these, you must be aware that HIV and hepatitis B are sexually transmitted diseases. So naturally these two are ruled out because they are transmitted through semen. Now very recently in Africa we have seen an epidemic of Ebola, and And children, it is a fact that Ebola can be transmitted through body fluids. Therefore, this option is incorrect. Chikungunya virus, which was firstly discovered in 1950 in Tanzania, is spreaded via a vector mosquito, that is female Aedes aegypti. Therefore, since it is a vector-borne disease which is not transmitted via body fluid, therefore the correct answer to this question is 2.